and welcome to another Liz at Home video. I'm so super excited today because my final Emma Lefebvre Craftamo watercolor box for this year arrived. So we've been through 12 of them now, and I'm super excited to open it. I haven't seen what's inside yet. I wanted to do that with you. I did take all the plastic and packaging off. As usual for me here in South Africa, it arrived with Buffalo couriers who have been absolutely outstanding. I don't have any say over who the couriers are, and normally in South Africa getting anything is difficult, but some courier services work very well, and I must say I've thought so highly of them. I absolutely love this image, and I must say I can't wait to paint it with Emma's tutorial. This is the kind of thing that I super duper love painting. So let's see what's in the final set. Got lovely blue tissue paper. We've got the card, which I've found these really helpful to have them up as I'm painting. You get a full lesson along with this, so that's really helpful. The free gift is, oh, look at that, a tote bag. This is, I'm too close and my setup makes it difficult for me to go further out, but it's a tote bag. It's lovely with Emma's beautiful. So I will take that with me when I'm shopping, or otherwise I'll keep it for my painting, should I paint out of doors or something. A mama size brush here, a 14 round mop. That's nice. And another, I think they're called cat's tongue. Cat's tongue 8. So those are the two brushes. This is a huge mop brush. Awesome. Oh, we've got some gouache, poster tempera in titanium white. That's nice. I suspect that's for the snow. Got our normal paper, which is 5 sheets. I've really been liking this paper. I'm wondering if Craftamo is going to be making it something that they sell. I'm going to send them a question and ask. And our 4 paints. Let's see which colors. Oh, find these little things quite tricky to open. This is called Jaune Brillante, which is actually, I've had it in a different brand of paint. It's quite an opaque sort of yellow. Raw Umber, useful color. Phthalo Blue, which is a kind of a blue-green, usually. And Payne's Grey, super pleased to have Payne's Grey. So I'm going to swatch these out and I'll be back. Well, I'm back now and I have the brushes here, which I'll try out just now. I've taken out a smaller brush to swatch the paints with. I've taken out my size 4 filbert, also from the set. And I've popped the paints into this beautiful palette that we got in box number 1, which I've tried to clean. Here are the 4 latest paints. And what I will be doing in a later video is I'm going to, in my own time, try and sort them out into like the way I like them. I usually like my colors from yellows through reds, through blues, through greens, that sort of thing. I'm also going to watch Emma's video where she sorts hers, but she's already said that she doesn't have the names and the numbers, so it's going to be a bit tricky. But so I'll try and sort mine out and put them into an order. And let me know in the comments if you would like me to then create a swatch sheet for you in case you've also been buying the boxes. and would like to download a swatch sheet with the names in the order that I've put them in. So if I get at least 5 comments asking for that, then I will do that. If I don't, then I won't, because it's work, and so I like to at least know that somebody would want to download it. It would be for free, obviously, as a gift from me. So I'm going to swatch these without further ado. I've popped them down here. This will stay as it is because I'll just wreck everything, but at least it's got, I've marked each little paint pan on the pan as well. So here we have number 434, which is the Jaune Brillant. I never know how to do this when I'm filming. I'm going to try doing it like this and not messing all over the show. I haven't really put these in too tightly because I'm going to be taking everything out. This paint feels kind of sticky. I did spray it, but it sort of feels a bit sticky as I'm trying to work it. I want it on this side for when I do the mixing later. There we are. That's the Jaune Brillant Light. It's quite an opaque, almost looks like a gouache, but these are watercolors. Just rinsing my brush again and dabbing it on the paper towel and letting that do its own bleeding. Then the raw umber. Very useful color. I always think of acorns when I see that. It just looks like an acorn color. It also looks like a sort of an opaque color. This piece of watercolor paper is losing its, I don't know what it is when I film that. I can't remember the names of things. Losing its sizing. It's starting to get that sort of almost as if it's got cream on it. Water resistant feeling. Phthalo blue. I must say I've really enjoyed this box. I've really enjoyed getting it every month, and I've absolutely loved Emma's lessons. She really is the most amazing teacher. So nothing wrong with the paint here. This is my paper. And I don't even know if it's their Craftamo paper that I used here. No, it's not. Some other paper that I used to print on. So the fact that it's losing its sizing is no problem with Craftamo. I'll use one of their papers to do my other, when I create a swatch sheet for myself. And now the Payne's Grey, which I'm super, super, super happy about. I'm going to mix a bit more water in that. I was once doing a watercolor course with somebody online. Can you see that, how the sizing's gone? Like, just resists the paint. And they said, don't forget, watercolors are watercolor. They are activated and come to life with water. So use water with watercolors. So that always springs to mind when I start to put something together. Okay, so there are those 4 colors. Now let me get some actual Craftamo paper, which comes in a double-sided, so one side is better than the other. Both are okay. It's hard to see, but the one has slightly more texture. I don't know if you can see that, but bring it right up. So now I'm going to use the brushes that we were given and try them out. So this is this huge round mop, and a mop is usually used for wetting large areas. So here's the Jaune Brillante, and I'll just get a bit more. I don't know if you guys saw that Emma's going to be bringing out a mixed media box next year again with Craftamo. And Sarah Burns is bringing out, this is so light, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this. I'm going to use this brush for what it was designed, and that is to create a wash. So adding a bit more water. And then I'm going to, I should have used it for blue. Let me just add some more water down here and add the phthalo blue in and bring the 2 up, and they can, I don't want it to make green, so I'm not going to mix them. All right, so I'm leaving that brush now because this is really and truly a wash brush. I think, although let me try the blue again. It holds a lot of water. I want to see what sort of a point it will make. Let me just try and get some of this water out of it so that it's not so thirsty. So it can create some lines as well. But it's very soft and it's a wash brush. It does this beautifully. I would never use this brush for fine detail. So it's an awesome brush, and I don't have one like it in my collection to, just rinsing it in proper clean water. I don't have one in my collection to create washes, so I'm really pleased to have it. Just want to make sure I'm looking after it properly. I'm just going to leave it to dry. So Sarah Burns is also creating a box, and hers is going to be gouache, and it said in the Emma preview for the Emma box, this is the raw umber with the cat's tongue. Now this is the size 8 cat's tongue. It said that now, of course, I'm trying to do something and I'm losing my thread. It said that Emma's going to also be using the Shinhan in tubes, but the watercolor. And I must say it was that because I've bought a few, and it's something that I've always wanted to collect, is the Shinhan watercolors. I love them. And I'd already subscribed to the Sarah Burns box. I thought about it quite a lot, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to or not. And I'm not committing to a full year because my first love is really watercolor. And I don't know, I'm sort of in 2 minds about the gouache. But I thought, oh, well, I can try a few of Sarah Burns's and her teaching method and see if maybe I can start to enjoy the gouache. And, you know, learn something within that and share it with you guys on my channel. I'm mixing a sort of a green here with the phthalo blue and the, wow, this is a beautiful color. This to me looks like summer seas. So I'm going to do a little painting for you guys now, which is suitable to me at the moment in my country. and not perhaps to all of you guys. My thought had been, before I opened the box, to do something Christmassy, but I'm going to do a landscape, but I think I'm going to try and do a seaside landscape and see how it comes out. Okay, so I'll set up and I'll be back. Well, unfortunately, my video didn't film when I started. So I drew a little shape. This is a mountain, and I'm using a mixture of the gray and the blue, which has made a kind of an indigo. I did a wet on wet cloud for the top. I drew a very pale pencil sketch for the sky, and I just used the phthalo blue for that, and I lifted a bit of the color with the mop brush, sort of squeezed out to try and give a bit of a sweeping cloud look. And I'm coloring this mountainous shape in with this sort of gray blue color, and then I'll try to give it some shape later on. And I did the front area, which is supposed to be sea sand, with the raw umber mixed with the pale yellow, with the jaune something or other. Can't remember the name of it right now. And I'm just dropping in some more of the darker color at the top, just trying to make a bit of texture on this mountain or the mountain shape. I found a kind of a picture on Unsplash, which is royalty-free images that you can use. Now I want to create a look of one mountain in front of the other, so I'm doing a line, again wet on wet. I should have waited for this to dry, but so just creating bits of texture, and I'll leave this to dry as one has to. And now it is dry, and I'm coming back again with some more of the gray color, and I wanted to do little drops on it, and unfortunately my brush is a bit wet, and that's created some blooms, so it wasn't completely dry. But I thought of going over the whole thing, but I actually quite like those blooms because they're creating some texture on the mountain. So I'll leave that. When you see a mountain in the distance, it tends to have little bits of different color that you see. So I'm doing the lines where I want to kind of make different shapes. Now I'm using this little size 4 round brush from an earlier box. I am at my most comfortable with the round brush. I feel like I have more control, and I wanted the fine color. So it's barely wet. I've wet it and I've dried it off on a paper towel, and I'm sort of smooshing the paint into the other side, and there where I wet it, it's blooming out and creating a nice kind of texture that is darker than the one in front. And I'm adding some more to that one, and just generally playing around to try and create a decent looking distant mountain. So sort of dab and dot. I add little bits of just the plain gray, I add of the mix, and I'm trying to keep the mixture a little bit thicker and more intense than the one that I mixed with water. And now that the paper's dried a little bit more, it's doing more of what I actually wanted to do, and just creating that sort of look of a deep valley. And I've dried the brush off a bit more and sort of smooshing some more out to kind of blend it. I'm fairly happy with how that's looking. There's a bit of a water tide mark on the front mountain. I'll first finish the little one that's in the far distance, and then I'm just going to try and blend this out with a fairly dry brush, and adding just random little dots here and there, just to add interest in the sort of the way when one looks at a mountain in the distance, you can very seldom actually see what is what. And so I just add little bits here and there of little lines and little dashes and such sort of things. It's amazing how this color scheme that is meant for the winter sort of scene, the winter landscape, is actually working really nicely as the summer scene for me, because this is my experience at this moment in time. I want to go to the beach. I'm dying to actually go to Boulders. It's a gorgeous beach in Simonstown where there's a penguin reserve, and I love seeing the penguins there. You actually swim with them, although they normally disappear once the people arrive, but we like to get there early in the morning before the other people have arrived. And then you see lots of penguins, and they've got nests. They're all kept safe for the penguins. There's lots of conservationists around taking charge and keeping everything safe. Leaving this to dry now, and I'll be back. So once again, my video didn't record. I think I'm having a bad day today. So I used the phthalo blue on the sea, and I made it quite pale coming towards the front, and now I'm using some of the white gouache. When the paint was wet, I added some dashes of the darker blue just to give a look of some waves, and now I'm going to be using some of the white gouache and just trying to create some waves and a look of some sort of white foam on the front. If you want me to do a scene like this again and make sure I get the whole thing filmed properly, please let me know. I'm having problems with my ring light. I'm having problems with everything today. Nothing is working. So I'm wetting the brush and making sure it's completely clean, and then I'm kind of drying it off on the paper again, and then using some of this gouache in a very thick way. And now I want to go over the place where the water comes to the end, comes to the sea sand, because I want it to look sort of foamy, and you know, the way the waves look once they come onto the sea sand. And I'm just sort of dabbing it on, quite thick, but with a very thin, fine brush. And now I'm wetting my brush again and drying it off, and then I'm going to sort of blend it out slightly, very carefully, and I sort of almost scribble with the brush. You can see that it's already looking more like water coming over the sand. I must say this is a technique I struggled with when I first did it. And now it's actually something I love doing. So now I'm also doing with the brush is a bit dry, so I want some of those textures on where it's very pale blue, so you can't really see. I'm just going to zoom in so that you can see a bit. So just for a little bit you can see how that sort of dry brush just creates a little bit of texture on the paper and makes it look more like sort of the foam that happens when the water comes. So you can see. And now I'm going to also try and put some of this white in front of some of the blue bits. I'm just lightening it a bit and blending it out carefully. And I want to make these very, very fine little lines, just where the wave is breaking, and a bit sort of dashed, not solid. So just little bits of suggestions of the white there. That came a bit too fat. I think I've got the gouache a bit too dry at the moment. So then I'm just wetting it again and drying out the brush, and whoops, it's a bit too wet now, so I'm just going to cover the whole lot over and thin it out, and it can just be a paler patch there, and then I'll try again. Dry the brush out a bit more, add more gouache, and try again. I think the thing is I probably need to slow down. I'm always worried when I'm doing a video that it's going to take too long. Okay, time to zoom out again. I think it's better to see this sort of a little bit in the distance, but just, I wanted you just to be able to see what it looks like up close and personal, as it were. But it's not supposed to be viewed right on top of it, but if you're painting something similar, it's nice to see. And then just in little bits, I'm putting a few little dashes of the white. I really don't want a lot. I mixed, when I did the water, I did the back area, the bit on the skyline, I did with the phthalo blue mixed with the grey, and then I used just the phthalo blue. Then I used the phthalo blue with a little bit of extra water. Then I mixed the phthalo blue with that pale yellow color, and then I washed it right out so it was just about white. Very, very pale blue. Should have maybe got a bit more of the greeny look of it mixed with the yellow, but I'm fairly happy with how it turned out. Now I'm mixing a shadow color that I want to go under the front wave. So I've used the umber, the raw umber, and a bit of the grey together, and quite a bit of water. And then I want it to be very pale. This is a little darker than I wanted, but I'm going to rinse my brush and blend it out so that it gets to be what I want, and then possibly go over it with a little bit more gouache. But this is just to give the look of a shadow, as if the wave is curling over. I hope you understand what I mean. I'm not explaining myself so well. I hope you like that I sometimes do a slightly different picture with these paints, and I hope that it maybe gives you a bit of an inspiration of something you could do with the colors. And do let me know, as I said earlier when I was unboxing the box, whether you'd like me to create a little swatch chart for you guys to use, if you have a printer or not. If you don't, then it's probably pointless. But I'm going to organize the paints in order. Today is Friday, tomorrow is Saturday, and I'm going to be doing my live stream with Tanya. So I'm quite excited about that. I hope everything works out. I've had such a day of it today, so now I'm making myself nervous. So I'm going over a little bit of the white here again, just to make the shadow not too much, but it does just add something to that wave. And then I want to still add a couple of grasses and a few little rocks maybe, or stones or something, to the front of the sea. Still playing around with waves and white caps. It's a very windy day today, so there are lots of white caps on the sea. We have lovely summer weather, but we do tend, where I live, to get the southeaster wind, which blows and blows. It blew an entire branch of our tree the other day into the neighbor's yard, and the neighbors are busy building an ocean-going yacht in their yard, and it blew it onto that. I was absolutely beside myself. I thought it had done damage, but we went around. I mean, we were completely prepared to help defray costs if push had come to shove, but luckily it had done no damage. so we helped them remove it. But my goodness, the wind can get very strong. So I'm mixing some more of this color. I'm trying to make a green. I didn't get it on camera, unfortunately. So I've got it kind of mixed up. I'm just going to try it with some branches here. Not branches, I've got branches on the brain now, some grasses. Not really sure I've got the color I want. I think that I need to mix some more of the browny umber into this color. I think it will look better. Just going to do some more little grasses. And then I think I want to add some gray, and I'm going to make some little stones. So I'm just doing these little random shapes, which are stones or little rocks or pebbles or whatever you want to say, just to add some interest to what's on the beach. This was not in the Unsplash picture, and I'm just sort of using some ideas in my head. Not sure if it's a mistake or not. Let's do a pointy one. Make it a bit jagged. Maybe it's a tortoise, maybe it's a little turtle making its way back to the sea turtle. I don't know. Some little things and just some little dots and shapes, and that just add some interest there to the sea, to the sand, I mean. And I think I must actually stop myself before I do too much and wreck it all, which is kind of the way I sometimes go. I rinse my brush out, and I think we're going to be done, and I need to remove the painter's tape from this little file that I usually use to paint on. I don't know, I'm always anxious. I should take the time to go and get my hairdryer out and make sure that it comes off properly. If you put a hairdryer on it, it loosens the gum on the tape nicely. But I'm just going to go ahead and remove it and hope for the best. This isn't the world's best masterpiece you've ever seen, so it doesn't really matter if the paper gets a bit wrecked. But I had fun painting it, and I hope that you've liked watching me do something different with Emma's box. Of course, my pictures will never look anything like as good as Emma's, but I'm learning all the time, and I feel as if my watercolor is improving, and I'm so grateful to you for sharing this journey with me, and I do hope you're enjoying the videos and that you like it, and I really would love some comments and chats, and I hope that it's the minority of people that have had a bad experience with delivery of these boxes, because for me it's been a great joy. And so we come to the end of this video and the end of these watercolor boxes. So I'll do a last video with reorganizing the colors, and here's the finished picture. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I really appreciate it. And I really hope that you've enjoyed the video and that you will leave a comment below. Thank you, have a wonderful week, and if you don't watch another of my videos beforehand, a very blessed and wonderful Christmas. Bye-bye now.